Welcome back to part 2 of Ammertime podcast, episode number 14. So, I won a tournament, a big tournament, in Denmark.
And congratulations
against all the Danes.
Yeah.
There was no Dane that was better than me
on
this
come
day.
on, man. You're taunting me.
I'm doing my best. So yeah, how did I do this? Well, it's a very good question, Henry. How did you do this?
Yes, Henry, please tell us how you won.
You have to interview yourself, right? So Henry, how did
blind luck and loaded dice.
Okay.
Well, what was your idea behind what was the tactic that you were going to implement to get to this first place?
This momentous victory.
Yes.
Pretty much. I don't really know. Like, my list is quite an all-comers list, I like to think. Like, I have some bad matchups. Like, I don't deal with 1% save very well. And, but I can deal with monsters. I can deal with big units of infantry.
Mm-hmm.
I have all the tools there, and I'm fast. So I can get into the place I need to get to when I need to get there. And that was kind of the plan, like, just take it as it comes. I didn't really have, like, an overall strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like the Wild Riders go on the flank and kill the chaff, and then come in late game and get in this flank of something. The Blade Dancers block things and take out the small units, and then the big unit is there to take on the Death Star. I mean, it's not rocket science.
Let's just agree to this. Your idea was to your Wild Riders were going to win you the game by killing everything on your opponent's side of the table.
On the flanks.
Yeah. I think that's sounds like something I've heard before. Fucking hate Wild Riders.
It wasn't rocket science, and
No, yeah.
I think it was just about, for me, it was, I'm going to go out there, and the matchups that is good matchup, I'm going to go out there and punch some dick, and the matchups that are not good matchups, I'm going to stop that dick getting punched, and then I'm going to get the scenario, and that's what I did. Game 1 was against the Kingdom of Aquitaine. I played a really nice guy called Oliver. I think he was from Aarhus. Basically, he had 3 Pegasus Knight characters, all with 1+ armor saves. So I was like, shit, it's fast and it's got a good save, and they had like all the virtues in the world. But I don't really care about the virtues too much because I have no big monsters. I have the Stag Lord, who's toughness 5. He can get ruined by one of those guys, but apart from that, I didn't have anything that he could actually touch me with. So the Stag Lord kind of avoided those the whole game. He had three units of knights, which were scoring units, and the scenario was banners, so I had to kill the banners. So I obviously chose the 3 small units of knights. Then he had 1 big unit of knights with the 2 characters, the 2 wizards in. So 5 characters. Then he had 2 units of 3 Pegasus Knights. 1 unit was a 6 with the 3 characters. So obviously that was a unit that I had to deal with really early. Then he had 2 units of Grail Knights, just 3 guys in like a line formation, just supporting the other knights. Basically, what happened was he deployed really long across his deployment zone, which allowed me to choose my matchups. On the left, I just got 1 unit of Wild Riders and said, I just put it right in front of his unit of knights and said, you can charge me if you want, I'm going to kill you, and he charged me. Because I have, each one has 3 attacks with the paired weapons. I strike first, and I'm strength 4 armor piercing. So it's 2s, then 3s, and then he's got a 4+ save, which is what happened. Actually, I explained this to him, and then he's like, okay, I'm not going to charge, so I charged him and killed him.
Charge me and I kill you. If you charge me, I'll kill you.
So he decided to because they're frenzy, he decided to make them run off the table, and then he was like, okay, well, I'll take that unit out. But then I got a banner, so I was like kind of playing to the scenario because it was a bad matchup for me. With the other unit, I charged my other unit of Wild Riders into the Pegasus bus, and I challenged with my champion, hoping that he would fluff his attacks, or I'd be able to cast miasma on him. And so I would just have the champion staying there for a turn, and I could then use the other Wild Riders to kill the Pegasus Knights, and then he'd just have the 3 characters. And I also played a card in this game which stopped the flying movement, and I chose it to have to choose the turn before the game, and I chose turn 3, and I did it, and I charged in on turn 1, so that on turn 2 the champion would be there, and then turn 3 he would be stuck on the ground. So I kind of played to this card, and this is exactly what happened. So the champion challenged, he fluffed his attacks, and the champion was left alive, and I killed enough knights that caused him to take a break test, even though all my wild riders died, which was exactly what I was planning on doing. So then all 3 of his characters were stuck there for 4 turns.
Nice.
Because of the no fly.
Yeah.
And then I dealt with the rest of his army with shooting, and my block just made his big unit of knights run away because they didn't want to charge in.
Yeah.
And it ended 10-10, but I won the scenario because I killed more banners.
Yeah. So that's 15-5.
Yeah, 15-5 overall. Yeah. So that was pretty
start
much
for the tournament.
yeah, game 1. One other highlight was the Stag Lord charging into one of his banner units and doing nothing. I think I didn't kill him. I didn't kill the champion with the general. The stag actually had to headbutt him off the horse because I couldn't go in there with 7 attacks, re-rolling to wound. I couldn't kill one guy.
Oh, rough, man.
Yeah. How about you? Game 1.
Game 1, I was playing against a super nice guy. He was playing the demon. What's he called now? Demon Legions.
Demon Legions.
He was running a no magic list.
Yeah, for fluff, love it.
All corn.
All corn.
All wrath,
wrath.
as it's called now.
He's a man after my own heart.
And with us total magic dominance all game, I just had stuff on him.
Did he run the Greater Demon of Wrath?
Yeah, he was running the
Scourge of Wrath.
Yeah, I don't know, the Bloodthirster.
Scourge of Wrath.
Scourge of
Wrath.
Called
Yeah.
now.
So that's what. So you got down to the night page names.
The Scourge of Wrath.
Scourge
of Wrath. All right.
Scourge of Wrath.
I really had a hard time with that guy. I didn't know what to do with him, but I threatened him with the Jazzleers, so he didn't really want to.
You had enough shooting, right? Cannons and the doom wheels.
Yeah, but he was running the big demon in the center of his army, so the Dreadmills had really hard time getting to him, and that's one of the problems with the Dreadmills. That's perhaps one of the reasons why you would run a cannon instead. So he was running him in the center, so my Dreadmills couldn't do anything about it. But he couldn't really get him into any fights that he was looking for. He was looking for a fight against my mage bunkers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He didn't want to run him against my plague pendulum unit or the slaves. He didn't run a fight.
Slave is the worst thing to fight.
And he doesn't really want to try and match up against the Dreadmills because that can end horrible for him. So he didn't really have any good matchups and with the big demon. And in the end, he kind of did a split deployment, trying to outflank my pendulum units, which I positioned in the center of the board.
Yeah.
But my battle line was just too wide. He couldn't get onto my flanks.
Okay. What else did he have in the army? Did he have?
He had two blocks of demons, close combat demons, strength 5 with the hill swords. I don't remember the name of the model.
Me neither.
Drink, no. So he had two big blocks of infantry, and some other small stuff like some chariots, I think, and stuff like that. Just some small stuff on the flanks, and the 2 infantry blocks were the big thing. And my catapult just did great work against one of them in turn 1 and 2, and then my plague pendulum charged into one-shotted, killed like 20 guys off instantly.
See you later, boys.
So on boys, strength, toughness 3, and when all is said and done, he just crumbled for the last wound.
Okay. And how did you actually kill the big Scourge of Wrath?
Yeah, because in the end I killed everything around him, and then he was trying desperately to do something with him. So he flew the Scourge of Wrath into the center of my army to try and get a charge off on my mage bunker in the last turn, and I just pointed everything at him. I had 2 flamethrowers, one from the vermin, the Thunderhawks, and the one that I had moving around, the one weapon team. Those 2 flamers got one wound off on him, and it was a 3 because they are doing D3 wounds. He already had taken 1 wound. Then the Jazzleers did 1 wound, and then in the end, my poisoned gutter runners had ran all the way from his side of the board after the demon to get him in the end, and with the last shooting of my entire army, my last turn, shot. I was like, okay, I have these 18 shots, and if I don't kill with this, Boom! I do 3 wounds.
It's just a bit like this.
He saved 2 of them on his armor save, and then there's this last wound with the poison attacks from those guys. And it got through the ward save, and my opponent is like, okay, GG, you just got 600 points or something like that.
So it's a bit like the scene in Lord of the Rings where Boromir is like running through all the orcs, killing them all, and then he just like gets enough arrows in him that finally takes him down.
In the end, I got him down, but we were just screaming, both him and I. Last wound I was able to give him, and he goes down. It was beautiful.
Was it 20-0?
It was actually 18-2.
18-2.
Yeah.
So he killed quite a bit of yours, at least enough that...
Yeah, like the most of the Plentum unit, like he killed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
So that was game 1 for you. Game 2 for me. This game was against Stefan. He's the guy that ran the ETC warm-up that we went to in Jylland.
Yeah.
Really, really nice guy. This was a weird game. Basically, he had the first turn and deployed in the corner, and I deployed in the opposite corner, and it was vampire counts he was playing, and he had like a double terrorgeist list with loads of infantry, and that was pretty much it. He had 2 units of dogs, but nothing else. It was just infantry, 2 shrieking horrors, and the wolves.
Was it a resurrection list, or did he have a lot of close combat?
3 necromancers, a barrow king, and a vampire with all the Von Carstein usual build.
Yeah, the grindy meat grinder stuff.
With a potion of strength and the regen and the fireborn.
Yeah, and whenever he does a wound, he gets another attack or something like that.
No, he had he just had a hand weapon.
Okay.
No, a blessed sword, same as me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was the mosh pit scenario, which was basically, we talked about it before. It's a point in the middle of the table, and every time at the end of every turn, if you have more scoring units than your opponent, then you get a point, and then the person with the most points at the end wins. And on this one, against 4 or 5 scoring units of vampire guys, I just played the card that was like, we don't play this scenario.
Yeah.
It's just another day card, and the scenario in the end was secure target. So there was two coins on the table, and he made a mistake in this. He put one on the corner, and then I put it on the other corner, and that meant that he either had to spread his army out or just take 1. So that was perfect for me, because I got 1 and then he got 1.
Yeah, and you could definitely pressure the one that if he just leaves a unit to grab one, you can pressure that unit really hard with
and that's exactly what happened. I poisoned off with the sheep dice. I poisoned off one of his shrieking horrors in my first turn.
Yeah.
He pushed it up a little bit too far, and I just shot all my poison into it and killed it. And then after this, he was a bit demotivated, and he could see that I was going to win because of the way that the scenario was. And I think he was like, we can just call it now. And I was like, no, come on, let's play. And he's like, okay, let's just have fun. And he got his vampire and just moved it 12 inches in front of my army. I was like, come at me, bro. And I was like, what are you doing? He was like, let's play. I was like, okay. And it was like in front of my stag lord, and I was like, can I kill him? Yeah. Is this a good idea to charge in? I was like, what's he got in his vampire? Because obviously it's hidden list. I wasn't sure. And so I charged in with the stag, thinking, okay, I'm a high weapon skill, so I'm hitting on 2s, I'm wounding on 3s with a reroll, and he's probably got a 4+ regen or 4+ ward, and on average I should kill him. And he'd already taken a wound from a miscast right on the first turn, so I was like, yeah, this is fine. So I'm just gonna run in and win the game. I ran in, my stag lord, 7 attacks, did 1 wound,
oh, man.
and the vampire just turns around, potion strength, glug, spanks me, and the stag lord dies. So it was just like, come on. And then it was his turn, and obviously the other wild riders ran away because the stag lord got killed, and they were like, fuck this. Yeah. And yeah, so he runs back into the barrow guard. I'm just like, oh shit. And he's there like, I'm just gonna heal my wounds now.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. So yeah, and then it was like, okay, game on, let's go. His second shrieking horror ran down the other flank. And for some reason he charged into my dryads, even though it only had 2 wounds left. And he moved up the barrow guard to support them, so that I couldn't charge it in the flank. But what happened was, in my turn, I charged into the Barrow Guard, and the Dryads managed to kill the Terrorgeist and charged into the flank of the Barrow Guard.
What?
So
Let's recap that one.
Dryads killing. How many attacks
so
does the Dryads have?
they have 2 each, but I put them in like a long line.
Yeah.
So what happened was he charged into the Dryads, and he had 3 wounds left. Oh no, 2 wounds left. So I only need to do 2 wounds, and he managed to heal it 1 wound in the magic phase, so he had 3. And my Dryads had something like 18 attacks.
Yeah.
Maybe more. And I rolled quite well to hit. I was like, okay, I need to do 3 wounds. And I rolled probably 8 sheep dice. And I rolled, and it was 4 6s. I was like, yeah, 6 of save. And obviously he didn't pass enough. I don't think he passed 1 of them. And then so my Dryads were free to charge as well. So he put his Barrow Guard unit up too far, and giving me the option to charge it in the flank with the Dryads and in the front with the Forest Rangers with the BSB in. And the Vampire was in there as well, and I just ground them down over 2 or 3 combat rounds.
Yeah.
And the Vampire died, and then he gave up. All his army was going to crumble.
Yeah.
And pretty much the Blade Dancers were trying to assassinate his BSB and failed. And the Wild Riders failed a frenzy test and got charged in the flank by a unit of zombies. But apart from that, I didn't lose anything else.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so that was a 20-0 for me.
Congrats.
And how about you?
Yeah, my second game was against Jens Ole, one of the old.
He was the old champion, the not champion anymore of Denmark.
Yeah, he's an old player. He's a really good player. He used to play on the Danish ETC team, and he was bringing out his Sylvan Elf list.
A little bit similar to mine.
I think it's very similar. He was doing instead of a elk character, he was doing the shapeshifter character with 5 attacks and a double wound weapon.
Whirlwind Blade.
Whirlwind Blade, yes. And he just almost had the same core setup with the 3 scoring units and the Heath Riders as a scoring unit and 2 archers and one of them with triple March banner. And it was an almost identical list.
No Forest Rangers though. He had the Forest Guard.
Yeah.
The spears, right?
Yeah, he had those instead.
He had two Wild Huntsmen, I think, because I was looking at his list.
Yeah.
He had a Tree Man. Did he have a Tree Father? No. Eagle. He had eagles.
Yeah, he had 3.
And he had
three
Briar Maidens, right? The rare fast cavalry with the poison shots.
Yes, he had 5 of those guys.
Yeah, I think
and without the mage upgrade.
Yeah, but he was running Wilderness, not Shadow, right?
Yeah. So his plan was basically with those guys to fast cav them up and get in my backline and kill off war machines with those guys.
Yeah.
That was his plan, and he never got around to it, but because they were just destroying my flanks on their own. I didn't really have anything on him except for some rattling gun fire, and it's not the most effective against.
With the 4+4 overs.
Yeah, it's not that effective. Of course, it's very expensive models when they die, but you still have to commit a lot of shooting. And he had the Blade Dancers running over the table, trying to get into my and chaffing up my units, so I had to do something about the Blade Dancers as always, and I just couldn't kill off the entire unit.
You have to kill the Blade Dancers before you get into combat because they're so effective.
Because as a Vermin player, I'm very. When your best combat block has frenzy, it kind of really fast gets to the point where you just has to charge something and to get free, and then you're positioned somewhere off in the middle of the board, getting
a weird angle.
Yeah, and he has the Wild Huntsman to countercharge with, and some of the Spearman unit is not something that you want to run into either. So I think so I kind of had to do something about the Blade Dancers, and as always, it was a hard one to get to do something about them. But but in the end, all my impact hits from the meat grinders, and I actually did a very nice move in which I had a 3-inch gap between my slave and my plague monks, just wide enough for the meat grinder to charge between the units. So I had it lined up. So when he charged my slaves, I sent the meat grinder in between 2 of my units to hit him in the front. Yeah, exactly. And he was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And he hadn't seen that charge coming. and it worked out nicely.
That's sneaky. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
that's a Skaven tactic,
Yeah,
or
it is.
vermin tactic right there.
But in the end, it was 8-12 for him. He just could kill way too much of my stuff.
Yeah.
And
What scenario did you play?
I played the breakthrough scenario.
Okay, so he played the same card as me in this
Yeah,
one.
he didn't want to stand in the middle of the board fighting the plague monks. It just didn't suit him. But he could kill off like the dread mills and all the stuff I had on the flanks, because I have a lot of stuff on the flanks in my army, and it just all died, and my main blocks didn't really get punished too hard.
Yeah.
But with all the points that he got from those, and he got the scenario point, I think as well.
Yeah, so
he
won 12-8.
He went 12-8 when it came around to it.
Yeah, I think
the Stag Lord one shot the what you call his old character,
the shapeshifter.
The shapeshifter one shot the plague pendulum. Just ran in and just take it off with this. Like with the double wounds against him.
Did you fluff though?
Yeah, he wounded me 4 times, and I only did 1 4+ save.
So on average, maybe you survive a turn.
Yeah, but next turn he will probably kill me with that guy. But of course, if I don't kill him, because I do a lot of damage. Of course,
but I think that's how you play against the Skaven or the vermin
swarms.
This is going to be a long night. I'm glad we're not drinking. But yeah, this is how you play against the vermin swarm. They're really, really tough army if you can't fight them in combat, and you can't really fight. No one can really fight them head up, like, because they'll grind you down, or the plague pendulum will destroy your life.
Yeah.
So you have to. The way that my next game was against vermin swarm as well, and the way that I beat them was that I kill the small things, the points that I can take, and then focus on the scenario. And because the scenario is worth so much in this tournament, then it's really, really important to focus on the scenario. So
actually, when we were talking about the scenario, quite a funny thing happened in game 2 here. We had to break through, and I had the shadow with the what do you call it, the Chariot of Mist. So he was trying to chaff up my one of my Red Arms units that were running for his backline. So I moved it up, was positioned just in front of his sentinels, the guys with the armor tail out, and I used the Chariot of Mist to jump over his unit and into his deployment zone. What happened afterwards, though, was that his next shooting phase, he turned and shot at my guys and made them all run away, because I'm only leadership 7 on those guys when they're away from my general and stuff. So they ran, so I didn't get the scenario.
But they ran towards his deployment zone.
But they ran towards my own deployment zone, and they didn't score. But in his turn, he triple moved a unit of archers into my deployment zone. And in my last turn, I moved a unit of... I took my Ring of Fire and did 8 hits on him, and got him to panic off the table. so we both had each other's deployment zone until our units just
everyone ran away.
So that's why the scenario it was a draw in the end. He just killed more of my stuff.
Okay, so it's like a funny game. So yeah, game 3. Mine was also against the vermin swarm. And this scenario was the scenario called Outflanked, where you have to push a unit off the table. And he was the one that was pushing the unit off the table. And in this scenario, I chose Sabotage. So obviously I sabotaged his Plague Pendulum, so he couldn't choose that unit. So the Sabotage card meant that you have to have a unit off the table, and I can choose whichever one I want. So I chose the crazy unit that I can't deal with. And so he chose one of his clan rat units. I mean, he could have chosen the pendulum, but I guess he wanted it on the table at the start. And he chose the bunker unit with the wizard and the characters in. And I got a little bit out deployed in this one, because the scenario says that the person who's trying to stop has to deploy first. And so I put my big block in the middle and my Stag Lord behind a hill, because I didn't want to get him shot. But that meant that he deployed in the opposite corner. And that meant my Stag Lord had to run all the way across the field to get to the combat. And my Forest Ranger were blocked by Impassable, so they couldn't really do anything the whole game. And as soon as my Stag Lord ran out of cover, he got shot by a cannon to the face. across the table. So that didn't go so well, and this game was really tight actually. It came down to the last turn, and I managed to panic off his unit that was supposed to be getting off the table.
Okay.
But my strategy here was to bring all my units on in the corner with the outflanked, the corner that he was trying to get to. So he either goes through 4 or 5 different units in the corner, or he fights my rangers in the middle. And all my shooting units shot everything I had at the unit. I think I reduced its toughness at one time. And just shot everything I had at the unit to try and whittle it down, because if I can get it below 25%, then it's a draw, and if I can kill it, I win. The scenario of 5 points, and that's what I managed to do. In the end, he fled and he didn't get off the table, so I killed enough that allowed me to win the scenario of 5 points.
Yeah. Rats that doesn't have many ranks, they just run.
Yeah.
Like that was the same problem I had in the game before. At some point, you just have 1 or 2 ranks left, and then you're pretty likely to run off. So
some highlights of this game was one Doom Wheel blowing itself up, and the other Doom Wheel getting charged by the Huntsman, and me casting Mind Razor on the Huntsman and taking the Doom Wheel off. And
oh, that's rough, man.
And another highlight was the Gracier getting chopped up by the Blade Dancers because it was standing in the front rank. And the BSB getting chopped up by the second unit of Blade Dancers that charged in after.
I fucking hate Blade Dancers.
One unit kill the General or the Gracier, then the other unit go in and kill the BSB. It was like, I'll trade 150 points for both of the characters. Yeah, so that one went okay. I ended up winning 11-9 just because he killed most of my army with the shooting. He had 2 units of Jezreels, a unit of the ambushing guys that couldn't ambush, 3 weapons teams, and then 4 units of slaves. So there was a lot that got killed in mine, mostly from shooting.
Did he have Globadiers in his army?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
I haven't actually played against them for a while.
I'm not using them, but anyways.
Yeah.
My third game played the same scenario where my opponent had to push off a unit from, and he picked a unit of Gauls or something like that.
Okay.
I was playing a Beast Herd against a Beast Herd army, and I always kind of felt like Beast Herds is a decent matchup against Vermin Swarm, because my combat units are stronger than his, even though he has quite strong combat units.
Yeah.
He was not running any Minotaurs. I was very happy about that one, because Minotaurs against me, that's a really rough
With
matchup.
the stumps, right?
Yeah, with the stomps and with all the attacks and all that jazz. And we have same initiative because he's additional hand weapons. But he didn't. He had longhorns instead with great weapons, and then he threw a lot of characters in there.
Did he have many monsters?
Then he had the 2 Cyclops things that's throwing
The rocks.
Yeah, the rocks. And I was just lucky. He didn't. He sabotaged my plague, the plague pendulum.
Yeah.
So he couldn't throw rocks at it, because like if the plague pendulum gets hit by a single rock, he's probably going to lose the D3+1.
Yeah.
Because it's a holy attacks, and the only thing he gets against it is Fortress Ward Save.
He didn't shoot you, or you just missed?
He just missed, and then I had a Storm Banner and some small stuff like reducing his and I pushed him really hard, especially with the dread mills on the flanks. My one dread mill was going for his Gore unit, which just had additional hand weapons. I was like, okay.
That was the unit that he was trying to get off?
Yeah, so I was just like, okay, I just gotta stop this. I was matching it up actually against my mage bunker with the meat grinder.
Okay.
And then I had a bit of small shooting against it as well. And in the end, he fled. In the end, he fled with his important the unit that he has to push off. So he ended up all the way in his backfield. And one of my dread mills moved all the way around his army and just charged it in the rear in the end. Yeah. And like my dread mills were just doing so much work, shooting off Cyclops.
What was his magic?
His magic, he was running Wilderness.
Wilderness. Did he have the spear?
No, he didn't have Amber Spear.
Okay, because that makes it really hard for the Beastman player, because he has a choice whether he wants to shoot your Dreadmills or your Plague Pendulum, right?
Yeah.
And if he's shooting at the Dreadmills, then the Pendulum's free, And if you're shooting the pendulum, then he has nothing to do with the dreadmills.
But he had so much ordnance in his army with the two stone throwers with holy attacks.
Yeah.
I really think he should have been able to shoot off more of my stuff.
He was just unlucky.
Yeah, and he prioritized shooting some shots at the Jazzleers and stuff. Actually, my Jazzleers end up running off the table from a terror test, stuff like that. But in the end, my dreadmills were just doing too much work, and my peg pendulum coming onto the table in turn 2 from the side. It just did. It just like he chatted up. It got into close combat in turn 5, I think, after killing off some chaff and stuff, and it just destroyed his longhorn unit because I had a rear charge after the longhorn unit pushed into my army. And I kind of chaffed it up, and I charged it with double the 2 meat grinders, with a unit of slaves in the flank.
So this is when the meat grinders really worked.
Yeah, these meat grinders they did in total they did
some grilled goat for dinner.
Yeah, they did massive. I think they killed off like 25 longhorns on their own. Like,
the slaves are gonna eat them.
And the slaves were just hugging them on the side.
Nom 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 nom.
And so
there's all this meat flying around.
And the slaves were just having a ball because I reduced his ranks so much, so he couldn't really do that much damage to my slaves. So I just had him in a tight lock, and then the peg pendulum just went in for the kill in the last end, just removing his unit off the table, killing both the characters and the longhorns.
So that one was a 20-0?
20-0 for me, yeah, and highlights from the battle, his Jaguar, something...
Jabberwocky?
Yeah, something's Jabber something. The character, it's a monster with the toughness 5 wounds or something. Yeah. He charged into my mage bunker in turn 2, because there was a very short range between his deployment zone and my deployment zone, so he could charge in turn 2, even through the storm banner. And he had lost 1 wound from some random shooting. I think it was a Jazzleer took off a wound on him. Then he charges my mage bunker, and my the meat grinder. This thing is just charging him, and the meat grinder is like, "All right, boys," and he just does the last 4 wounds to the jabber.
4 wounds.
And my opponent was like, "Fuck this shit. This is going down now."
The Jabberwocky is like initiative 3 or something.
Yeah, I killed him before he could do anything to me. And I was like, "Holy shit, it's on, boys."
You need to start saying like, meat grinders, these things are good, you got to watch out for them.
Yeah, meat grinders, I think they're decent. Sometimes they charge in and only do like 2 or 3 impact hits, and you just scream your lungs out because they have such a big potential, and you just do nothing with them.
But that's Skaven, and that's how it should be, right?
Yeah. The one-trick ponies, and I really think they're doing nice, especially because you suddenly you have your chaff inside your big blocks, and you can like push it out if you need to, or you can get this extra charge in that you need to from your meat grinders, also to clear stuff like blade dancers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because if he dance 3+ war save first when you charge him, then he doesn't really have anything to counter you with, because he's strength 3 and stuff like that. So you'll probably win combat resolution, and you'll kill off a couple of guys even through
the ward save.
So I think it's a decent. I actually think it's a really strong unit, but it's
How
competing
many points
with.
are they?
It's 65.
Is it in core? Or?
It's in special.
Okay.
With like the rest of the weapon teams. So he's kind of competing against some of the other weapon teams, but I think the meat grinders contributes with something else.
Yeah.
Like you have the option of doing 46 impact hits against the longhorns before they do anything to you. I think I killed off something like 10 or 12 on the impact hits alone. Yeah. It was beautiful. And -2 on armor save. He didn't have armor save against it. I think it's really good.
And you were saying that the Skaven lack combat punch.
Yeah.
And this kind of gives you that element that you're weak in. Yeah. So when you're building the list, you're kind of thinking, okay, how can I maximize my strengths and minimize my weaknesses? And obviously one of your weaknesses is that you can't fight combat, and this is helping you with that weakness.
Yeah. And if your opponent is playing strong single characters, first turn you'll have your characters in your second rank. So unless he kills off your meat grinder, you can stay safe in the back. and if you kill off your meat grinder next turn, you have your champion to challenge with.
Challenge, yeah.
So you kind of have 2 turns in which you can stay safe with your bunker.
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
Solid. Okay, so game 4.
Yeah, game 4.
Game 4 was against the Ogre Khans. So this was, when I got to the table, I thought this was a good matchup for me. It was the hold the line objective, where there's 3 objectives, and if you hold the line at any point, if you hold all 3 objectives with more scoring units, then you win the objective. But it starts after turn 2.
Yeah.
So after turn 3, if you have the 1 scoring unit on each and your opponent has nothing, then you win. But if it's contested, then you have to wait until you actually have more scoring units. So I thought, okay, I have 4 scoring units, and he has also 4 scoring units. He had 2 of the scraplings and 2 big buses with ogres with characters in. I think it was a level 4 and a level 2, and a BSB and a lord. Like there was a hero unit and a lord unit. He was saying so.
Yeah.
One unit had the lord in the middle, and then on the flank there was a hero, 2 heroes.
Yeah.
He had 3 units of yetis and then a stonehorn.
Yeah.
So he had some of the tricks. I was a little bit concerned about the stonehorn because it's strength 7, but as I prequeled to at the start with my list, I managed to poison off the stonehorn after turn 2, so that wasn't too much of a problem. I was actually
that's really nice rolling.
Yeah, I rolled a lot of 6s for my poisons.
Sheep dice.
Yeah, the sheep dice for the win. Just in the first turn, they're always really good, and then they get really bad. My magic was awful this game. I'd hardly cast anything. I was like, the first turn, I cast miasma to reduce the initiative of his block, and then I 5-diced the pit, and I rolled a 1, a 1, a 1, a 3, and a 4, and I didn't cast it, and he was just like, because he didn't have enough dice to stop it. I think it was like a 6 versus 4 phase or something, and yeah, he flunked his roll, and I was like, here we go, let's get some ordnance wounds on these ogres. But yeah, didn't work out. The highlights of the game were my wild huntsman. So there was 3 units of yetis, 2 on one side and 1 on the other. On the one side where there's just 1, I put my wild huntsman in front of the yetis and said, come at me, bro. Because the beauty of them being paired weapons is they're initiative 6. So the yetis, they're initiative 3, with paired weapons they're 4, and then the -1 to my initiative means I still strike first. So he can come in and I have 15 attacks with frenzy and paired weapons, hits on 2s and wounds on 4s, and he's got no save. So if he charges in, I'm probably going to kill most of the unit, if not all the unit.
Yeah.
So that was quite safe for me, and that's exactly what I did on the other side. He had 2 units. One of them I shot off in the first turn. He ran away and then panicked the unit of scraplings, which were too far away from the general away. So that was one flank 1, and then the final unit I just put my huntsman in front of again. In the rest of the game, my block fought his block. He charged in, and I stood there in the woods with rerolls to 1s and distracting and everything, and just killed the unit in 1 turn. And then I turned to face the second unit, and obviously I was a bit depleted from the impact hits, and the characters doing some wounds as well. He charged in again, and I held because of bodyguard. And then in my turn, I just came in and killed everything else, and that was 20-0.
Yeah, and once again, the wild huntsman is kind of a situation in which the wild huntsman just get free roam because
they're initiative 6, and that's the paired weapons.
And as well as for me, I don't have much in my army that can really handle wild huntsmen on the range that the wild huntsman has to charge from, because they have such a long movement and swift stride and all that jazz. So it's just really hard to do much about them if you don't really have the shooting to take them off.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me why I have paired weapons, and this is a perfect example of why. Is when you need to strike someone at higher initiative than 5. When you have spears, you just don't do the job. I mean, yeah, they're strength 5 on the charge, but you have to charge. And in this case, I can say you can charge me, and I'm still going to win because I have more attacks. If it was spears, they'd be striking at the same time. I'd probably lose the huntsman. And I would not be striking with strength 5 anyway. But in this case, I'm striking with strength 4, an extra attack, and I'm striking first.
And the animals, what's the initiative of those guys?
4.
So they wouldn't be able to, if he killed off your guys with the Yetis, you wouldn't be able to get the wounds from the
exactly
from the animals.
But the huntsmen are there, even at strength 5, they're there to kill armoured stuff. But I find that strength 4 armour piercing is enough to kill most armoured things. Even with a 2+ armour save, they're only getting a 4+. And because you have an extra attack, it just makes them better, I think. And they deal with more things.
I actually have the same experience. That strength 4 armor piercing, I think that's more than enough as the meta is right now in Denmark anyways. Because you don't see a lot of cavalry around.
No.
So usually you'll only be facing off something like a 4+ or perhaps 5+ from heavy armor or something like that.
Yeah.
That's usually what your opponent is throwing at you. And some you'll meet 3+, but even if you reduce 3+ by 2 and he only has a 5+, that's more than enough. So I think
cavalry's not really been used. I didn't see any big cavalry buses, at least not 1+ armor save cavalry buses.
No, there were some armies with from the Knights of Aquitaine.
Yeah, but they're just the characters, right? That are 1+. Even the Knights are 2+. Like in the first game when I played the Knights, it was the same. Like he could charge in. He's strength 5, but I'm going first.
Yeah. So take off some.
Even if I kill 2 or 3 or 4, it's more likely to probably kill 4 on average, and he's going to do 1 attack at strength 5, and maybe he doesn't hit.
Yeah.
So 4+.
I think strength 4 armor piercing is a really nice spot to be in,
especially when you're striking at initiative 6.
Yeah. So
game 4 for Jonas.
Yeah, I was playing the Empire of Sunstar. Sunstar, yeah, and it was quite a normal list. He had a big unit of Hellbirds. He had 2 units of Flagellants with the 2 buff wagons back. Filth all the way. 2 cannons on the flanks. Then he had he was playing wild magic instead of a light council.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Why is that?
To buff the Flagellants.
Okay.
So it was
5 Flagellants.
Strength 6 Flagellants. It was horrible.
That's horrendous.
Yeah.
Who was that? Was it Anders Nøhr?
Sorry?
Was it Anders Nøhr?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, of course it was.
It was one of the old ETC Danish guys, and it was a really cheesy build. Even though he was running a dragon, he was running a prince on dragon, and that's something new. I think it's a nice unit because you have your 3 big tar pits, your 3 big blocks that can soak pretty much any charge, and then you have the dragon for the counter charge. I think that's a really interesting build. A new dimension to the Empire army perhaps that we haven't seen before, and when he had 2 cannons, he kind of has the option of killing off your opponent's cannons and stuff like that. So I think it was actually quite of an interesting build. In the end, his dragon didn't do much.
Did you kill it?
No, I didn't kill it. I wasn't able to. He was hiding behind a hill most of the game. And when I finally got my shadow move with the flamethrower, and I got into range of the dragon, I had other easier targets to kill. Usually you would do the flamer against the dragon because you do D3 wounds. But then I had some stuff like I could shoot both his mages and his BSB.
What was the scenario in this? Were you playing Hold the Line as well?
I was playing Breakthrough, so it was all about getting your unit into your opponent's deployment zone.
And this is kind of what your army's really good at, actually.
Well, not when you're facing off 50
Flagellants. How did you kill them?
I just ran in with the one unit I ran into with 2 meat grinders and a
the meat grinders again.
The double meat grinder into him, and then a unit of rats, and in the end I just won by grinding him down. And the other one I ran into, with the plague pendulum, a unit of slaves. I had the Thunderhawks charging it in the flank with a meat grinder. Again the meat grinder. And then I was trying to charge it with a dreadmill as well, because I thought, okay, the extra impact hits would be really good. But my dreadmill doesn't make it in.
Okay.
So it stops like I needed 2 more inches or something like that. So it stops just beside my Thunderhawk. And in the shooting phase,
no.
Yeah. No, you know what's coming.
No.
You know what's coming. And so in the shooting phase, my dreadmill cannot pass his leadership tests with a reroll, so it shoots right into my Thunderhulk.
Oh.
But it's only strength 4, and I'm like, okay, perhaps nope, nope. So that's, I think he had two wounds left or something from my opponent shooting at it. So I kill off my fucking own Thunderhulk. And I really needed those impact hits. I was calculating on doing the 7 impact hits from the. He has 7 impact hits when he charges in with the meat grinder, and he has 3 attacks and a stomp as well. So I was calculating on this guy doing like 7, 8, or perhaps 9 wounds or something like that, and then I just shoot him off, giving my opponent 150
Were you rolling sheep dice for your leadership test?
No, I was playing with his dice.
Okay.
So it ended up only being the slays and the plague pendulum. And he kills the plague pendulum in first turn.
Of course, flatulence.
Yeah, but he's flatulent. He's hitting me on. He's getting +1 to hit, so he's hitting me on force because he gets weapon skill 2.
Yeah.
From the plague ridden from the rest. So he's hitting me on force with the +1 to hit and hatred of course.
Yeah, so it's basically like a 3 or 2 plus.
Yeah, it's basically a 3+.
Yeah.
But he has 15 attacks, 16 with the champion. Because he had 2 attacks per model, and he can have 5 models in base contact with the plague pendulum. So that's 15. That's 7. It's basically 10 hits on him.
Yeah.
Then he has strength 5, so he's only wounding me on force. So that's 5 hits through.
5 wounds, yeah.
5 wounds, and then I have 4+ ward save against it. So it probably would be something like 2.5 wounds.
Yeah.
He did 5 straight up. he did 6 wounds. He did 6 wounds to me. I saved 1. And I was screaming out my heart out in rage because it was beautifully lined up. If I had killed off he had 5 guys left in his unit of flatulence. Those 5 guys
that's
my Thunderholt.
They're gonna finish that off.
That would have been my Thunderholt killing those guys off, and I could have overrun with my plague pendulum right into his dragon. It was perfectly lined up. And after the dragon, he had both his buff wagons. So if I could kill off the dragon, I could have just steamrolled that one, and I would have won 20-0.
What was the score in the end?
The score in the end was a 10-10 after me making one last horrible mistake. I was lining up a meat grinder. The meat grinder again. I was lining up a meat grinder to charge a unit of knights with a scoring unit, and then in the back. Just behind it, he had his Hellbirds, who was killed. I killed 30 Hellbirds in 1 turn with a combination of magic and the catapult. And those guys, they were just standing in the corner all game. But in the end, he just moved them outside of his deployment zone to try and chaff me up. And I had a gutter runner on the side who was able to charge him in the Hellbirds in the flank. So the situation was, if I could kill off the 3 knights, then I could overrun into the Hellbirds and fight twice if I charged with the gutter runner. Yeah. But I forgot to charge with the gutter runner, and I was so late in the game that I wouldn't go like I saw it just in the next movement phase, in the same movement phase. I saw it, but I didn't want to go. Oh, can I please do this? Because we were so late in the game. Yeah. And I wasn't sure that I was going to kill the knights. Yeah.
Did you kill the knights?
I killed the knights.
Oh, no.
I ran into it. I got side charge from the dragon in the scoring unit. It got killed off, and I just lost. And it ended up as a 10-10. Okay. If I had taken that charge from the gutter runner, I would have won 18-2 or something like that.
Oh, dear.
That's just me. That's just me playing badly.
Okay.
But it was a nice game.
10-10 is okay.
10-10 is okay.
And Anders is a good player.
So yeah.
Okay.
As the second ETC player in the same tournament, I was not getting a lucky draw.
I played in game 5. I played against Tobias. Tobias is a really good player. I played against him before. I beat him last time as well, and this game was no different. I played a really. I think this was probably my best game of the tournament. I like to feel I played a really solid game from the start to finish. I'm really proud of this one.
Yeah, let's
I've got lots of little details for this one, right? So the game was secure target, so 2 pennies. There was one on the left flank and one in the middle. So I did this kind of purposely. I put it on the left so that he thought I was going to go on the left, and then I put my forest on the left, and there's like a big piece of impassable in like the middle, and then my forest on the left. So I was kind of giving him the impression I was going to deploy on the left. The first unit I put down was the archers on the left, and then he put down, I think, one of his scoring units on the left, like opposite my archers. And then I put a unit of blade dancers in the forest on the left, and then he put down a big unit of dwarves on the left. Oh yeah, sorry, I should say he's playing infernal dwarves. Yeah. He had a big unit of dwarves, a unit of goblins with bows, a unit of goblins with spears. He had 3 units of the Kadim, the mini Kadim guys, infantry, the monstrous infantry. And these are impossible matchup for me because they strike at initiative 10 with strength 4, every model in base contact. So if my wild huntsmen go in, they're gone. If my blade dancers go in, they're gone. So I had to deal with these somehow, right? And this was the only way I could think of doing it, was like pretending that I'm going to deploy on the left and then deploy on the right. And this is exactly what happened. So I kept deploying units on the left until he put his Kadim Titan down on the left. He put it down as far on the left as possibly on the left. So I was like, yes, okay. And then at this point I was like, I'm putting my whole army down. Put the rest of my army in the corner on the right. And he had the Dwarf Lord on the bull. And the bull has the same rule, that anything in base contact takes strength 4 at initiative 10. And I was like, oh, how do I deal with this bad boy? And he was right in the middle of the army, because he obviously put this down last. So that was coming at me full speed. So I had my block behind a hill on the right. I had my stag in the one unit of wild huntsmen on the right. I had my other unit on the flank on the right, the huntsman. Then I had my skirmish archers in the middle, opposite his bull, which was fortunate, because they went down last. And I had my scouts, obviously, so they didn't went down last. Then I had a blade dance unit on each side, dryads on the left, and archers, one on the left and one on the right. So pretty much the archers on the left did nothing all game. I think they panicked off the table at one point, but they were just shooting things. The blade dancers in the forest, he moved his Kadim up pretty fast turn 1. Or his turn 1, I'd already moved up and shot a few wounds off various things with my shooting. And then he moved up. What I should have done is just blocked him with the blade dancers. And because he's frenzy, he charged in and overrun hit the impassable. And then he's there for 2 turns. And then I don't have to deal with it pretty much the whole game at this point. But I forgot, and he moved it past the impassable. But I could charge the blade dancers into the rear, which I did. And he's weapon skill 5, and I'm weapon skill 6. And so I was thinking, if I can reduce him by 3, his weapon skill, I had double my asthma, then he hits me on 5s. I can do a 3+ ward save dance, and yeah, I'm going to take 5 strength 3 hits at the start. I'm going to take 7 attacks, but he's hit me on 5, so maybe that's only 2 hits. And then he's just the thunderstomp, d6. So I was thinking, okay, if I have 2 hits at strength 7, 4 hits or 5 hits at strength 4, and then plus d6, I can maybe, if I roll well on my ward save, he's going to be there for 2 turns. And I fucking cast -3 weapon skill, and I fucking had 2 war dancers left at the end of combat, and then that Kadim was done for the game. He could not attack anything. I was like, do you want to reform and face the war dance? He's like, no. Because obviously I get the charge, and I get +2 combat resolution for the rear, and he killed 3, so draw combat. Then I'm golden.
I think blade dancers, 4+ ward save. That should be enough.
No.
That should be enough.
No, 3+ wards. And the amount of times I fail those 3+, even with the sheep dice. Yeah.
Like 1 out of 3, or
yeah, roughly. So yeah, the rest of the board, basically he had his 3 units of the flaming guys on the right side, and I was kind of shooting one down with shooting the whole game. It was down to like 2 models, a champion and a regular guy. The big unit of 5 that he had in the middle, I charged them in the first turn with the forest rangers and the stag, or the second turn, and just wiped them. I mean, I lost a few guys in return, but I killed them and overran out of line of sight of the bull, and he did like a really good move, which made it that he was going to get my rangers. He was going to get my ranger with the BSB no matter what. Like, it was between the bull and the unit on the right. Even though there was 2 models, I couldn't get anywhere without him charging me. So what I did is I gave the bull my rear, and moved towards the unit on the right, the two guys. But I didn't realise they had a champion. So the plan was that I was going to let him double charge me, challenge the bull, and then be stubborn and turn around and kill the bull.
Yeah.
That was my plan, but it didn't quite work. But I'd had a contingency plan, which was the stag guy. Like off, and if he did this and I stood, I could charge him with the stag the next turn, as long as I stayed stubborn, right? And he made a mistake that he charged.
They're bodyguards, so they're stubborn.
As long as the BSB's alive.
Yeah,
But the BSB lost a wound the first round from the flaming thing, because he's in the front, right? But I had taken a few wounds off the bull. I think he was on 4 wounds. I did him 2 with the poison shots. And so what happened was he double charged me. I challenged with my champion, but then he was like, "Oh yeah, I have a champion." This unit's like, "Fuck, fuck." Now he's just gonna stomp the shit out of my unit with the dwarf, which he did. But I was still stubborn, and he charged in my unit, but not made contact with the BSB. So I was still stubborn, which was a mistake on my opponent's part. He could have gone in and killed the BSB, or at least tried.
Wouldn't you be steadfast? No,
because I probably would have been steadfast actually.
Yeah.
So I would have stayed anyway. But as a result, I killed off the unit in front of me and turned to face him. And then in my turn, I charged him with the stag. Stag went in, potion of strength, bless his sword, 5 wounds taken off.
Oh, rough man.
And then at this point, my opponent was like, "Okay, good game, 20-0."
Smooth man.
And that was the final game of my tournament,
Yeah.
and resulted in me winning.
Yeah, congratulations.
So, how about you? Last game?
Last game? Well, I was playing as something very...
And just to interrupt you, my hunter, he now has a big bull's head on his tree at home, on a big plaque.
Smooth. Smooth, man. Nice win. My last game was against something a little special. It was against MSU Orc list.
MSU Orcs.
Yeah, he was a really fluffy guy. He was a really nice guy. And
He's a fan of the show, right?
Yeah. I played him.
Name?
His name was Jonas.
Jonas.
And we had a really nice game. He actually also won the fair play reward. So
congratulations, Jonas, and a little shout out to you. Hope you're listening.
Yeah. And thanks for a lovely game. We had a really good game, and like highlights from the game. It was all pretty bleak. It was secure targets, so we kind of both pushed into objectives. He was trying to outflank me. I had my double dreadmill, one on each side, to kind of deal with any.
I know what's coming.
to kind of deal with all the small stuff on the flanks, because like a dreadmill, it can kill most MSU units. So I'm feeling quite comfortable here, and it's all good. He actually moves his trolls towards my flamethrower, so I'm like, okay, this is golden. This is going to be 20-0, no problem. He then kills my flamer, which is standing behind a hill. But he hits it with his stone thrower anyways. Kills it off. I'm okay. I still have my flanks, no problem. My dreadmills move up to shoot at his stuff. So on my right flank, my dreadmill is shooting at his single goblin character on a wolf. It misfires, and it rolls 1 on his misfire chart, and it dies. So now next turn his wolf rider can charge my artillery, and I'm okay. That's rough, man. So on my second flank, my left flank, my other dreadmill has a nice shot on his 2 trolls that my flamer no longer could kill. So my dreadmill shoots, it misfires and rolls a 1 and destroys itself. So in turn 1, I destroyed both my dreadmills, lost both my flanks, and left a gate open to kill my artillery and my entire backline. I was furious, and my opponent. Well, when you're playing Vermin Swarm, at some point you just kind of learn to accept when your army is playing for themselves. Like no matter my plans, they were doing their own thing. Killing off my own Thunderhawks and destroying my own Dreadmills. And my opponent, he was like, that was a game. He has 300 points more than me in turn 1 after doing nothing to my opponent. And I just gotta say, the thing that saved me in the end was the meat grinders. Like the meat grinders against the MSU opponent, when you run in and you hit the same unit with 2 meat grinders doing 46 attacks, it's just hurting him really.
Can you put 2 meat grinders in 1 unit?
Yeah, you can actually, but I was just charging. I had split up my meat grinders on each side of my center, so I was charging with Thunderhawks and a meat grinder.
Okay.
Into another single character, the spider goblin king thing.
Goblin king on the small spider, right?
Yeah, and actually usually you do 14 strength 4 attacks against him just from the impact, and then I had both my Thunderhawks, so that would be 6 strength 5 attacks, so that should kill him off, even though he had a 3+, 4+ against my. I think I'll do 2.5 wounds, 2.3 wounds, 2.2 and 2/3 wounds. Yeah. When I charge him with those two units. But I just did 1 wound to him in first combat round. My meat grinders just didn't do it. Then the one meat grinder ran off and he killed 1 Thunderhawk, and next turn my meat grinder just killed him. The Thunderhawk.
It's not working.
It's not working. And he just killed him. And he even charged in with what happened? He charged in with a unit of Squeak Hoppers. Not the rank and file ones, not the
skirmish ones, the Nash and Dashes.
No, not the Nash, just the Squeak Hoppers, the normal one, the rank and file ones.
Okay.
And he charged in to kill off my last vermin, the last Thunderhawk, because then he could overrun into my mage bunker behind. So I was like, this is going down south and it's going fast. Like my Dreadmill's bruising me the flanks. He's able to charge my mage bunker and all that jazz. And I didn't have the meat grinder because I sent it out, so all my characters was in front rank. So this would go really bad. So my meat grinder just starts chopping up these.
Just turns around.
And just kills all these.
It's like a
squeak
hoppers.
I killed like seven squeak hoppers in one go with the meat grinder, and then there are 3 attacks from the vermin. Thunderhawk killed off the character, and then I stomped the squigs, and then when he exploded, he killed my. With the squeaks, he exploded and killed my vermin hawk, the Thunderhawk, but that just won me, like that secured that flank, because then he only had some heavy cavalry out there, and I could kind of zone them off with the ruin spell. If you go through this, you'll get dangerous terrain on 2 minus, on 1 on 2.
Yeah.
And he just didn't. He couldn't charge through it because he would take 8. He only had 5 guys in the unit, so that would have been 10. Dangerous terrain test failing on 1 and 2, so that would have been 3 or 4 guys dead just from charging through this one spell. So it was the perfect counter, and that's one of the reasons why I love Ruin so much, because you have the nice utility.
Yeah, you got lots of different spells and for different situations, and you can not pick and choose, but you have a good selection.
Yeah, and that's the big template. You throw down your big template, and if your opponent just touches it, everything in the unit has to take dangerous terrains on 2s. It's just really good. You can really control your opponent's movement.
And that help. Again, that's one of these things that kind of solidifies your weakness. One of your weaknesses is the flank.
Yeah.
So if you can put this down in a good position, then it kind of helps you solidify that flank.
Yeah. And it ended up by saving my ass because he didn't want to charge through it. The game ended. Another cool thing that happened that game was my gutter runners coming onto the backfield and just killing off goblins in hordes and just like charging mage bunkers in the backfield. It just did all the work in the backfield, and in the end they ran in and killed off like 7 savage orcs and then died horribly, of course, but still just did a lot of really good work. So yeah,
you should probably say something about Jonas' army. The Orc and Goblin army, like he's got some really cool conversions. He was also up for best painted.
Yeah, and he got a lot of soft scores. He actually ended up as in the 5th position.
Yeah. After
getting 4 votes of friendly player, and he got a lot of soft score. So he got a really nice position in the tournament.
He has a unit with what was it, like a squig wagon? No, the pump wagon.
Yeah, the pump wagon.
I'm not sure what it's called now.
It was like
it's like a big wheel. with some squigs running around inside.
Yeah, it was
like
like
really cool
it was like a treadmill, but it was converted in a very nice way,
Yeah.
and I really loved it.
I really like that. And there's catapult with like the troll pulling it.
Yeah.
Like pulling it, the catapult. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it was a really beautiful army, and it's always just nice to play against something that looks great as well, and with some interesting conversions. So I think it was a good game against a really nice opponent. A good way to end off the tournament, because I had 2 games that were very intense against the tense opponents.
Yeah.
So I was actually kind of in a bad mood.
Okay.
But playing against him, like, we started out and he was like, do you want some chocolate? I was like, no, I don't want some chocolate. Do you want a beer? No, he didn't want a beer. Do you want some nuts? No, I don't want some nuts. But then I topped it off by bringing off home baked brownies from my girlfriend, and then he kind of had to take it, because home baked brownies, who can say no. And then after that, we just had a really nice game and just relaxed and had a good ending. And even though I lost 300 points in turn 1 doing nothing,
what was the end result?
I still won 15-5.
Well done.
By securing both targets in the end, actually.
Okay, so you got the objective.
I got the objective because he couldn't do against the MSU unit army. My plague pendulum, he just can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
It'll kill anything he gets into contact with. So all he could do was like chaff it up, and then in the end I just positioned it on the objective, and he couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
Great.
So yeah, that was our tournament.
Yeah.
I should also say that Morton game that I played, the Ogre Kingdom Ogre Khan player, game 4. He won the best painted. He had a troll army.
Yeah.
A troll ogre army. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Everything's converted.
Yeah.
I actually have pictures of all the armies that have been best painted, so they'll be up along with this podcast in the thread.
Yep.
Yeah, I should make a victory speech. I'd like to thank my friends and my mum and all the guys that I played against and everyone who's made this possible.
And Ammertime
for giving me an opportunity. Yeah, seriously, a great tournament. Every single game I had at this tournament was fantastic. Everyone I played with was super nice. Even the guys that I beat really badly, like they took it on the chin. And yeah, really, really top guys. Probably actually I know I won, so it's kind of hard to say, but it was probably my favourite tournament I've been to. Like, I thought all the games were really fun, and I think this is just indicative of the Ninth Age. Like, I'm really enjoying like the competitiveness, and I'm also really enjoying that it's balanced, and you go into a matchup and you don't feel, I can't win this, I can't beat this army, because you can always focus on the scenario, and say, okay, if I can't beat this, I'm going to get the scenario.
Yeah.
And I really like that about the Ninth Age.
Yeah, I think it's well rounded. I think if any of you out there, of our listeners, ever think about starting playing a little bit of international tournaments, I think Giant Fanatic next year could definitely be a good idea, because it's, first of all, it's a very big singles tournament, biggest in Scandinavia, and it always have this a little bit different
feel.
Yeah, it has a very hobby feel to it, and the format is always just a little bit more than what you're used to, and I think it worked well this
really
year.
Well. The scenarios worked so well.
Yeah.
And there was a good spread of people. There was like some guys on the bottom tables. There was one Sylvan Elf player who was running like a forest dragon with a wizard, just like a cool list.
Yeah.
Like real hobby, like nice guys
And so you have everything. You have the well painted armies. You have the hard games, because you're still running into the
Top
old
Danish
ETC
players,
guys, and of course Henry Miller as well.
Yeah,
which
that
is
guy.
a really hard matchup.
The Ammertime guys.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a thing soon? It's like, oh, those Ammertime guys, don't want to play against them.
Yeah.
I think we're getting there, right? We have Christopher came 19th, 20th, something.
Yeah.
You came 9th.
Yeah,
and
you came in there. Listen to this. Congratulations, Henry, once more on winning the biggest tournament in Denmark, and I can understand why you're proud about it. And I think Ammertime, I think we're moving up there. Won best tournament, best team at the tournament here. And I think we did a decent showing at the ECC qualifier as well.
Yeah.
We're getting into something.
Are you going to go to the Masters in October in Germany?
in October, I'll see. I
No,
haven't.
is it October? No, I thought it was October, but I might be wrong.
I haven't looked at it yet. Haven't seen the prices, but I think it could be an option.
Yeah, I'm considering it now. I'm on top. Now,
Ah.
now I'm the best player in Denmark.
Yeah.
I'm gonna maybe show my face.
You
Yeah.
have to, you know.
Yeah, exactly. See what Denmark has to offer
exactly.
on the European stage. Yeah, I got one question for you. This is more of like a random thing. In England, we had this like advert on TV a long time ago. It was for this like processed beef stuff, and it was called Stag, right?
Yes.
And the advert was like, "Daddy, why do you have to call it Stag?" And then everyone like turns around and goes like, "Stag?"